Obviously, I was going to write a review, but I wrote one sentence and then sitting there for hours and couldn't stop myself. Later, I wrote the review. Days later. And this is the end of this poem, really. אני נולדתי יהודי מתוך מותך, מותך הערבי שבי, ואז יצאנו במחולות, הורה סוערת, הפולני ואני ופולני, בן גוריון, מנפנף בזקנו של סבי, ומצביע על אורי השחום ושר, מכאן אני, מכאן באתי, כאן ביתי, ואני נמלאתי גאווה יהודית חדשה ושיני זאב חדות, ואתה רוח מנון. סירבת להסתלק מעיניים הביטות אל אופק מערב, היית לי לאויב המציץ אליי מן הראי כל בוקר מחדש, ואני הורג ומקלל והורג בך שוב ושוב כדי להוליד את עצמי מחדש יהודי מחודש. ואל תטעה בי, אני לא כאן להחליף אותך, ואני לא מזרחן, אני מזרחי, יעני יהודי אוריינטלי, יעני אין לי כפרה ואין לי תקנה, לא בגלגול הזה, אולי ביום בו יתגברו על פחד הגבהים, שלושת מלוויך דורשי סוד החיים, גילגמש, שלמה וישוע, ישו מלך היהודים, ישו מלך היהודים. וירדו מצמרת עץ החיים אל ארץ קץ הקיצים ביום ההוא שלא יבוא עוד לעולם, יקרא מעל פניי את המסכה, חסודת הפנים והנפש, ויהיה מה שיהיה, יהודי בלי יהודים, ערבי בלי ערבים, מזוודה ללא מולדת, מולדת ללא מזוודה, צייר ללא מילים, משורר ללא צבעים, קיר ללא ציור, ציור ללא קיר. Just the end of it. From there, no, down to the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep. I should remember the pages.
I know.
I was born Jewish out of your death, the death of the Arab in me. And then we danced, embracing Hora, and the Polak waves my grandfather's beard and points at my dark skin and sings, "Here is where I come from. This is where I hail from. This is my home." And I was filled with new Jewish pride and sharp wolf's teeth, and you, Ruh Menhun, go away. You refused to remove yourself from my eyes, watching to the western horizon. You became my enemy, who peeks anew at me from the mirror every morning, and I spit and curse and kill you again, to rebirth myself a renovated Jew. And do not mistake me, I am not here to replace you. I am not an Orientalist. I am an Oriental, Yahani Mitzrah, Jew. There is no atonement or redemption for me, not in this lifetime. Perhaps on the day that your three companions overcome their fear of heights, lo, those inquirers into the secret of life, Gilgamesh, Solomon, and Yeshua, Jesus, King of the Jews, and descend from the top branches of the tree of life down to the land of the end of all. On that day, which will never more come, I will tear the mask off my face, benevolent of countenance and soul, and be who I am. Whoever I am, I will be. A Jew with no Jews, an Arab with no Arabs, a suitcase with no homeland, a homeland with no suitcase, a painter with no words, a poet with no paint, a wall with no mural, a mural with no wall.
Thank you.
The whole poem is great. You should read the whole thing.
Is it online?
Pardon me?
Probably, I think so. I'm not sure. Yeah. I can read my notes with you, so this collection. And it's in this book. It's on Amazon.com. Just kidding. Anywhere online. And the publisher will tell me if she wants to say, please go on ServenaBravaPress.org because she put so much effort into this in order from publishing. Okay, we had this lovely dinner before we came here, and we talked about the king of Morocco a little bit, because we had myself and another friend, she's not here, Oh, okay, yeah, I remember now. She said so. Moroccan as well, and we talked a little bit about the king and so. But without going into politics, I'll read you this poem about the king.
This is the camera.
Yeah, you see it? It's towards the end.
Give me one more.
Yeah. It's called Give Me One Moroccan King, or Moroccan King. תנו לי מלך מרוקאי. תנו לי מלך מרוקאי אחד, מרוקאי עם כבוד. וקחו את כל הבן גוריונים, הבגינים, הגולדות, הרבינים, השמירים והפרסים והברקים והשרונים, ולכו תחגגו לכם איתם קוממיות ועצמאות. אני מסתפק במלך מרוקאי שלשונו לשון אמי. ארכין ראשי ואנשק את ידו ושבע לו אמונים. ואברך, אולי ברכמו לסידי, אלוהים יברך את מלכי, אתה ועד סוף הימים. כן, למה זה תמוה בעיניכם? תנו לי מלך מרוקאי אחד, גבר מרוקאי עם כבוד, או לכל הפחות, קפטן בטיסה טרנס-אטלנטית המברך את נוסעיו בשלוש שפות רהוטות במבטא מרוקאי, ואין צוחק. כמעט, אשתי אשכנזייה לצידי לא מתאפקת.
Give me one Moroccan king. Give me one Moroccan king, a Moroccan with honor, and take all your Ben-Gurions, your Beguines, and Goldas, Rabins, Shamirs, Perezes, Baraks, and Sharons. Go celebrate your sovereignty and independence with that lot. I'll make do with a Moroccan king who speaks my mother's tongue. I'll bow my head and kiss his hand and swear allegiance to him. Allah Yebarak fi Mulai Sidi. God bless my king from now until the end of days. Oh yes, indeed. Why does this look odd to you? Give me one Moroccan king, a Moroccan man with honor, or at least a captain on a transatlantic flight who greets his passengers fluently in 3 languages, all with a Moroccan accent, and no one laughs. Almost. My Jewish American wife can't stop herself.
Any comments? I think we did a lot. I don't know. More time, or we just holding it? More questions? Or?
Could the Moroccan king have a double meaning of both kind of a Moroccan Israeli prime minister as the kavod of a king, or is the only interpretation you're thinking of it actually a literal Moroccan king of Morocco?
Nothing is literal, it's poetry. Did you have the first lesson? No. You can read that as well. And of course, the inspiration for writing this is actually I was invited with this delegation of Moroccan, I don't like the word intellectuals, but I was in that list, and I was surprised that I was invited to the celebration of the year, the anniversary of the crowning of the king, this king, in his palace in Rabat. And so I was this 30, 35 Moroccans all living abroad. And it was really a surprise to me, but also I was moved, not only by the invitation, but because I've been told a lot that Moroccans, don't really care, don't really put too much emphasis on religion, especially when they hear my last name, which is a Berber, a very famous, strong tribe of Berbers from the Atlas. And I was the only Jew amongst all these 30 people, and of course we were there at the palace, and in general I don't like monarchs or dictators or that kind of regimes, but it was quite an experience that I cannot explain, and I felt very much connected. So that's the literal, with the people that I was amongst. Of course they made jokes about the king and his father and all that, but but that's, of course, the folklore of the whole thing. But it was very moving. It was very moving because we did a lot of things after that. It wasn't the only thing for a whole week, meeting different people, and I was surprised. I didn't even. I was afraid to ask. You know, it's like you go to board a plane and they lead you to the first class, and you don't want to say anything. First, take the seat. You know, because I was afraid to ask, is this some kind of, you know, and they just kept saying, we're so honored, we're so honored. To read, of course, the research a little bit about you, we'll just invite you. And so it was interesting. I didn't have much translated to Arabic until today, not too much. My main book is translated, the whole thing is translated to Arabic. And poetry, not so much, maybe 20 poems. We try to put together a collection. But they've seen everything, and for some reason it was moving. But of course, the subtext is more interesting in this poem.
Yeah, but it seems like you were the bridge between Israel and Morocco at that time. And as an Israeli, my parents came from Iraq. When I lived in Israel, I always felt that we are missing a huge opportunity to use our language, culture, to make the bridge between the Arabs and the Israeli state. Because when we grew up in Israel, they told us we are not part of the Middle East. And this was wrong, because physically we are part of the Middle East. It was the big lie that we are coming, we are doing something else. And by alienating the Israelis that came from the Arab countries, they misserve the Israeli interest of being part of the Middle East, using this...
there is no such interest, but it's...
Yeah, I understand, that's of course, but the Israeli state, like the existence, to be part of the Middle East. This is my opinion.
Yeah, I share that opinion, but there is no Israeli official such desire ever.
Exactly, and at that time, our generation were, we felt that we need to depart from our parents and stick to the westernized world, Europe, whatever. And we missed this opportunity to bridge the gap between us and the Palestinians and our Arabs.
Well, I think
It's not too late, though.
but, well, nothing is too late, I think.
It's way too late
But
because
it
many
is,
Eastern Jews hate Arabs, basically. So that's why it's so late. Because
Well,
my language, when I grew up like him, it was Arabic. But they taught us that we are not the same. It was, so teaching the other way around, it's very difficult.
yeah, it's been long. And I agree, I just, of course, one thing that I would say differently is that there was not missed opportunity, because no one was looking for opportunity. I always use the two words in Hebrew, gesher and kesher. Gesher is a bridge, and kesher is the other meaning of kesher. The other meaning of kesher,
Conspiracy or
conspiracy or you know. So those Jews were used for kesher, not for gesher, for against, because they were all recruited, especially Jews from Iraq and Syria and Egypt, who had a good Arabic education. Moroccans did not have any Arabic education, and they could serve in all the intelligence, the branches, and like overnight they became the enemy of the homeland they just came from. no one looking for opportunity or missing any opportunity. The whole idea from the very beginning of when I started, pretty much into this was really to build the wall. The idea of the wall is there always. Herzl's writing, Jabotinsky's writing, other writing. There is no difference between right and left. It's just illusions now, differences. And the whole concept of villa and the jungle and all those, all that nonsense. The idea was really looking to Europe, but it's always to the west, and in fact, it's always to the east. And it is sad. I know what you're talking about, and there were some moments, and still there are some moments when I look at sometimes at some events and occasions, and I'm amazed to see how fast this actually can turn around, which always amazes me. Like I remember during what we call the happy Oslo years, days actually, it was very short, because it was done wrong. My criticism of that is different than right-wing criticism, but remember during, it was like a year and a half before it was all gone. So basically, Rabin was assassinated, and it was gone. There was incitement of terrorism, and etc. The rest is history. But nevertheless, during those years, I've noticed so many things happening between Mizrahi Jews, Middle Eastern North African Jews, and Palestinians, where it was like, okay, but you can engage. It's like someone said, okay, you can do it. Very strange. And things started happening. Culturally, music. I remember the other band was a big star, was invited to sing in Gaza in the theater, but the theater was in bad shape, so decided to do it in the amphitheater, looking to the court. And she was all excited about this, and then the Israeli Secret Service or the Israeli Prime Minister always put a stop on this, and let her go because of your safety. Although her manager said he takes responsibility of signing every paper and will hire whatever he needs, and will rent a chopper or whatever on his expense. And it was an invitation by Arafat himself. And it was sold out. It was the entire amphitheater would be full if you went there. And she was stopped. So it was too much. It would be too fast. It would be too much. It was just months after Arafat came back. But I know, her a good bit, and I know that she was invited in many places, Jericho, other places. I know people going back, because there was some business connections before all this drama. And for the first intifada, and things were happening, people visiting. You see all these characters that used to be, of course, faces of terrorists, now in these talk shows, speaking Hebrew about politics. It was insane. It was crazy. It was too good to be happening, and of course it stopped. And I see even today, when you see musicians, always music is the pioneer of every change. And see musicians collaborating, Palestinians. I love musicians because they have no borders, they have no flags, they have nothing. And
we don't need words.
next slide, of course, I'll choose that. And I see so much collaboration. Even from Morocco, it's easy, but even from other places coming to play in different venues, and with Israelis, with the Iraqis, with Moroccans, and when I see that, these are young people, and I don't think it's case.
It's happening now.
Yeah, of course.
What about the border?
Many things. Huh? There are ways. Always ways. You'd be surprised. People come from places, you'll be surprised. And when you see that, you say, you know, you see a possibility to just come true. You see the Jews play music together. And of course, it's very difficult. I'm not kidding you, myself. This is something close, but I don't think it's all lost. You know, Jews from Iraq and Morocco, from the places, realize that they don't want to too much about this. Very, very early on, they realize that, you know, if you want to join the king, as they say, you know, to power, they understood immediately that they came to a country that had anything to do with their artness, language, anything, mentality, culture, even music in those days, is that of the enemy. So what do? The Ashkenazi experience is different. They had no prior experience with Arabs of the land until they landed in that land. And they landed with the gun in their heads, basically, just metaphorically. It was from the very beginning. It was a wall and tower, watchtower, that's the whole concept. And so we have even the Jews, the Sephardic Jews in Palestine had different experience really with Palestinians. It was totally different. Towers and walls. And so it was a very well orchestrated transfer of people into the state, and also controlling their socialization. You know, amazing. One of the most amazing examples I think in history, definitely in modern history, and it worked very well. But I don't know for how long. It's going to last. So far. No, we should read something happy. Yeah. I don't have any. Seriously, I don't. Not in this Well, I can read the one where I got my birth certificate when I went to Morocco. I really didn't mean to, but I asked someone, can I get my birth certificate? Because I was in my hometown. Yeah, of course, you can go to the Ministry of the Interior over there, and of course they'll take care of you. And so I went inside, and I said I was born here. I was trying very much with my Arabic, and I want my birth certificate. And she said, when? And of course I realized a long time ago. And I said, I gave her the date, and then she said it will help if you can write your name in Arabic. Not we tried, so I could write my name in Arabic. And then she went to some archive. Although they had computers, she knew it's not going to be on the new records. And she came back with this book, index book, very big. And she opened, and we started looking for the date. And then it's when I saw so many Chetrit in Berber, really you pronounce it. And I said, oh, so many streets, so many. And I just happened to say, so many Jews live here. And she said, were born here. She said, oh, they're not all Jews. And she said that so naturally. And really, when I looked at the first names, there were so many. It's just big tribe. There were some Jews, some are not. And then I said, this is it, I'm sure, my parents' names. And she took it back to the archive, and she came back with another book, and of that year, of that, she opened it. And it was a page. It wasn't even, we never got, and my father swore to me, and we never got any birth certificates. It's impossible. I said, no, you just register, that's it. And he was right. They never gave you a copy because there's only one copy. It's a page in that notebook that tells the story. And I was so happy. So she made a photocopy of that. She took it to the manager, and he came back. He came out of his office and shook my hand. It was like a nice event. We took a picture. And then he said, sir, do you like us to order a passport for you? I said, let me think about it. Not sure yet. I said, what do you mean? And then I said, what do you mean passport? Can I get a passport? He said, that's it, we're back in the system. We're citizen. Just put you in the system. Oh, so it was like I was revived from this archive back to the computer time, and now I'm there. It's, so I have another citizenship. 3, correcting them. Yeah. So, it will be the one that says, I came back. You found that? Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks. חזרתי ממרוקו עם תעודת לידה. חזרתי ממרוקו עם תעודת לידה וטלפון סלולרי דובר מרוקאית. תעודת הלידה שלי היא סיפור פשוט כתוב ערבית על דף מחברת שורות. ביום ה-15 בחודש מאי 1960 נולד בקסר סוק בן זכר ושמו סמי, זה א', סמי, בנו של מאיר שטרית, אזרח מרוקו, שנולד בגורמה ב-1937, סוחר, ובנה של יקות, my father didn't like that part, it says merchant, ובנה של יקות, because he thinks himself a scholar, ובנה של יקות, אזרחית מרוקו, שנולדה בריש ב-1940, דווח על ידי האב ביום 27 במאי 1960, ואנוכי, בסידי, בן תהני, קעיד ורשם, חתמתי על הצהרה זו לאחר שהקראתי אותה בפניו. הטלפון הסלולרי שרכשתי בחניית ביניים במקנס, בדרך למדבר ילדותי, התמלא בשמות נשים ואנשים. עבד אל-חק, עבד אל-רחמן, יונס, עומר, ציון, ויביאן, עזיז, פיירוז, סימון, בינה, מוסטפא, רבב, אל-כהן, בסידי, נדיר, ג'מעה, חמד, ליליאן. ואבי בשיחה טרנס מרוקאית אמר לי מהורהר, אני חושב שמצאת לך מולדת חדשה, ישנה, בין אמריקה לישראל, ונראה לי שתבקר אותנו עוד פחות. אבא, במרוקו למדתי להכיר אותך בשורש הגדוע, לא אמרתי לו. למדתי את כוחו של מעיין עיקש במדבר חרב, רציתי לומר.
I do think the royal players are coming in at 9, so that's why you hear doors opening and closing.
Oh, I see. Those lines. This is an old drop, and it's here.
It's in the animation.
Hmm?
I think it's in there.
So this is an
Yeah, but read it.
But it doesn't have the end.
See it here? Yeah, that's the other version.
Oh, that's the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, so just read through it, go. Okay. Okay.
It's interesting. Sometimes I continue writing the Hebrew, and the English is already translated. Because I go back before it's published in Hebrew. I go back and forth.
I came back from Morocco with a certificate of birth. I came back from Morocco with a certificate of birth and a cell phone that speaks Moroccan. My birth certificate is a simple story, written in Arabic, on a page from a school-ruled notebook. In the 15th day in the month of May, 1960, in Kassar Souk, a man-child was born and named Sami, son of Meir Chetrit, citizen of Morocco, who was born in Gourma in 1937, a trader and son of Yakut, citizen of Morocco, born in Reach in 1940, reported by the father on the 27th day of May, 1960, and I, Abba Sidi, son of Tahami, Qaid, and registrar. I have signed this declaration after reading it to him. The cell phone that I bought in a Meknes stopover on the way to the desert of my childhood filled up with the names of women and men. Abdallah, Abdul Rahman, Yunus, Omar, Sivan, Vivian, Aziz, Ferouz, Simon, Mina, Mustafa, Rabab, Akahun, Basidi, Nadir, Jamal, Muhammad, Lilian. And my father, in a trans-Moroccan call, said, lost in thought, I think you found yourself in an old new homeland between America and Israel, and now, it seems to me, you'll visit us even less.
Yeah, there were 2 lines I've written, and I forgot about the translation. You do that, probably. Go back to your poems, right? Not after they were published.
Yeah, oh yeah, I don't go back because
Not when they published.
after they're published,
No,
yeah,
me too.
I'm done.
But it wasn't published, it was given already to the translator.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. But I always like to go to some things that they feel are not finished yet. I don't know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sami, and
Thank you,
thank you
Anita,
all for
so much.
coming.
Thank
And
you.
I hope you come back to more poetry events.